Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Poetry Corner Podcast with your host, Carlos Simon Davis. Um, and how we start this off, I'll read a poem, then I'll come back and give you some insight and, basically the behind the scenes of what I was thinking when I wrote it. All right, this poem is from my book, Conscious Mentality, and it's called Every Time I Look Into Your Eyes. Every time I look into your eyes, my heart pounds out a thunderous beat. I feel a jolt that moves from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. The color of them just touches my soul. The beauty of them is more precious than rubies, diamonds, or gold. Every time I look into your eyes, the world I once knew was filled with clouds of cold and gray. Then one look, a brilliant rainbow appeared, just like when the rain clouds are blown away. The rainbow arched across the waves on the sea. The sky is covered completely with songbirds singing so heavenly. Every time I look into your eyes, each second becomes minutes, which turns to hours that leads to eternity. That's the way I feel when I gaze so heavily. Time and space are simply paralyzed. I won't complain because I enjoy this paradise every time I look into your eyes. Yeah, so basically, I had to do one of those sappy poems. Nah, just kidding. It was one of those things like, I don't know, I have this quote that I came up with a while back when I was in my writing phase of like always writing stuff down, jotting things down. And it was this thing was like, the phrase was like, if the eyes are the windows to the soul, I want to be lost in yours forever, truth be told. And that, kind of came from this poem basically. It's just like, the people be like, oh, I can get lost in your eyes, or things of that nature. So when I wrote it, it was kind of along those lines. Like every time I look into your eyes, I get like basically hypnotized kind of thing. And then you go into like what is that hypnotization is, like well, rubies and gold and all that kind of stuff that basically sparkle. That's what your eyes. That's the feeling that it gives when you're looking at someone's eyes and you visualize angels singing, like you know what I mean. So it's like it's not deep, but it is in a way, like a lot of visuals. That's kind of how I work with my poems, like things that like if you use certain words to describe a feeling, if you say it enough or you say it descriptively, you can tell people like how, whatever that thing that you're trying to describe, they can actually close their eyes and envision it. And so that's where I was at when I wrote that, and it was years ago when I wrote it. So a lot of these poems, especially from Conscious Mentality, man, it's been a long time since I wrote, some of these poems. And then, so when you think back or you look back on it, you be like, "Oh man, that was kind of cheesy," but it definitely was a time in my life where I was really descriptive in my feelings. So I wanted to like write it out to where if you had your eyes closed and I was just talking, you can actually envision what I was saying, or vice versa. If you're reading it, it can like take you to that place. And we all had those feelings about somebody, whether they're dating or maybe they're married now, where you one look at them, it take your breath away, basically. Well, with the eyes, there's so many quotes out there, like the eyes never lie, or whatever the case may be. I want to get lost in your eyes forever. Those type of feelings. When you look at somebody in their eye, it can kind of give you access to what they're really thinking. Like no matter how corny that sounds or whatever the case may be, it's like even in the business world that we all, when you're shaking someone's hand, they're like, oh, look them in the eye, it's a respect thing. Well, in this case, it was like I'm respecting the feelings that this person gave me when I was writing it. And then it wasn't like I always tell you about poems that I write. It's never about just one person, even if the one person that I have in mind when I was talking about it, there's other parts of the poem like I might pull from a different inspiration. So um, eyes are something that I am definitely attracted to. Just because, like I said, you can't fake that. Um, and uh, I don't know, when people give you your list of features, things that you're into, and stuff like that, eyes are one of them for me personally. Legs for sure. Being an athlete myself, like that, I don't know, something about legs that just get your boy. But yeah, things like that. So I won't go into too much detail. I ain't gonna give away all the ingredients. But yeah, man, when I was writing that, it was just a lot of my photos that I have. Um, it's like me staring at the camera or me looking off. The eyes are important, and so when I wrote this poem, I wanted to kind of embody that when I'm looking at someone, I'm like mesmerized by their eyes and how I can get lost in them, and just the sappiness when I wrote it, the puppy love type thing. But as I got older, you get more in depth and you can be more descriptive, and it's just not like, oh, she got pretty eyes, it's like the depths of the eyes, and I can see into this person or they can see into me, and that's why looking at someone and they see you, the real you, and not just the idea of you. That's kind of where I'm at with it. So yeah, that particular poem to me was a time in my life where I felt the need to like kind of go a little more in depth of my feelings when I'm looking into your eyes, and so that's kind of where that inspiration came from. But yeah, man, didn't want to do too much on the pod today. Wanted to talk about that poem for sure. The quote that I use, like I said, um, I love that quote. It's probably in another one of my poems somewhere because I use it so much. But it's like, if eyes are the windows to the soul, I want to get lost in yours forever. Truth be told, and that's just what I think. And so even in this one, it's like I can get lost in your eyes basically, and it's like every second turn to minutes, which turn to hours, and that leads to eternity. Meaning, I can get lost forever basically. So yeah, it's a little what do you call them? Easter eggs, little hidden Easter eggs in there. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what I want to do with the pod today. All those that got a chance to listen to the last episode, it was called Karma. Had one of my little issues with AI, those bots, man, or the machines that people use to monitor things, had flagged my episode and said that what I wrote, Karma, which was a poem that I wrote, was not mine. So I had to go through this whole appeal process and eventually got to a human, and the human was able to do their job and get the podcast episode back up on the platform that it was taken down off of. Which I just have issues with AI, man, and why companies use it. Just because there's nothing like a human, no matter how much they try to push that narrative and machines are taking over. It's certain elements that they just miss. Even with the eyes that I just wrote that poem, even though I just talked about that, there's nothing that AI can do to give you that feeling. You know what I mean? So yeah, back to what I was saying, got off on a little tangent, but if you got a chance to hear that episode, it's back up. After went through the appeal process and everything, and they were able to tell you that that was me, and not some machine or whatever they be trying to do. Um, Go back and listen to it if you haven't had a chance. Just because it was down and now it's back up, a lot of people never got to hear it. So that's why I have a little beef with these social media companies using AI to like basically tell you, oh my goodness, these airplanes living by an airport is not for the faint of heart. I can tell you. But Yeah, these machines, man, they flag your account on just keywords instead of actual content stuff, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose of social media. You can't be social because a machine is telling you that you're not a real person. And it's like the irony of that, like how you gonna tell me a inanimate thing that I'm not real? You know what I mean? Just think about that. So yeah, people that love to be pro AI and it's helping and all that. I'm the opposite. You know what I mean? Like I just don't like it because it, just like with social media, like social media was supposed to be this idea to make people be able to connect all across the world or whatever. But I just feel like the more social media and the term social media is more isolating. Like, yeah, you can talk to someone on the other side of the world in a different country, but most of the time you're in your own isolated space doing that instead of just meeting people where they at, or just touching grass outside, just things of that nature. So I might be in that era of my life where I'm like the grumpy old man on the lawn, just telling people like, get off my lawn, But yeah, man, I have an issue with just machines and how they're trying to it makes your life easier and that might be the case, but if everybody does that, then are you really living? Like you're not really making anything easier. If anything, you're isolating yourself. And of course, that's another plane. So you might not even heard me because of the plane and how loud they are. I guess Saturday is just more flights or something happening. I don't know. But yeah, man, I want to get on the pod today, talk about looking at somebody's eyes and how it makes me feel and all the feelings and the puppy love atmosphere that it gives. But also there's some depth to it, and when you're descriptive about your feelings, a lot of times you don't have to guess, with the eyes. The eyes will tell you exactly what you need to know. So yeah, that's kind of where I was at when I was writing that poem. I love to um, reminisce and reflect on the time in my life when I was writing those things. I do like to, of course, write in the real time too. I don't always go back, but I'm almost, at that point where I'll tell more about the new book that's coming out. Um, Still working on some things because logistically of how I want it to go. It's kind of in this stage where it's just like maybe I can change this or maybe I can do that, and so I'm always second guessing myself when it comes to that. But that more information will be coming out soon about the new book. But yeah, man, we want to get on the pod, not just ramble, but tell you about you know looking into someone's eyes, give you the poem and then give you the backstory behind it. Hope you guys are having a great, wonderful weekend. You can get ready for the next weekend. I guess that's a holiday coming up. Um, yeah, I think that was it. What else do I got to tell you? Did we have anything? Did have a great Juneteenth holiday. Um, I celebrate every day because I'm black, but it's good that everybody else is starting to realize that Juneteenth was a special time for everyone, not just I guess one group, but the main group. Living in Texas my whole life, basically, when I was growing up, um, we knew about Juneteenth because that's where it happened. But it was always interesting, like when I moved to other places, how many people weren't aware of what Juneteenth was, and it was weird to me because I lived in Texas, so I that's where it was. But when I was living here in Cali, like a lot of people was like, "Oh, I didn't even know about that part," and it got me to thinking like, there's so many different areas that had different things that happen that other places aren't aware of. Like I'm pretty sure if you lived in Oklahoma, you knew about the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre and stuff like that, but people outside of that didn't know until it became national news, and then you do your own research and stuff like that. But it just makes you think about the areas that you grew up in, like how that affects other people. And sometimes it doesn't affect them because it wasn't in their area, so they had their own things going on. So like case in point, in California, we heard about the riots, but you didn't know about them until you actually, came over here, and then they tell you exactly what went down. You only go by what the media portrayed. But when we was growing up, we had other things going on. Like I remember in college, we had a big incident happen with someone. I think it was somebody had got in trouble, and it was like in that area, it was like big, but everywhere else, nobody heard of it. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of how I felt about Juneteenth. It was like I grew up in Texas, so of course I knew about Juneteenth. But when we came out here to Cali, or when I was on the East Coast, like you hear about certain celebrations, but they didn't like go all out like we did in Texas with the parade and barbecue and stuff like that. So it's just always interesting. And I'm pretty sure Cali got their own thing that goes on out here and stuff. So, it is what it is. But yeah, just want to do a little pod today, talk about what was going on with the last episode, Karma. So if you haven't got a chance, go ahead and check that out. And then for this one, every time I look into your eyes, that basically was one of my good poems that I hate always calling them my favorites because they are my favorites because I wrote them. But sometimes, I guess when I'm in a certain mood, certain poems speak to me, and I think that's why I like poetry because I can always go back and reflect on what I wrote and where my mindset was when I wrote. So yeah, um, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.